Hello everyone, and welcome to another UrbanSubnet.com video learning experience. Today we're going to talk about classless interdomain routing. With classless interdomain routing, we take a IP subnet and we divide it into smaller groups. So if we have a subnet that is a /24, which gives us 253 IP addresses. Well, actually it's 255, but we are only going to use so many. But out of the 255 IP addresses within that subnet, we can divide it down into smaller groups so that we can apply it to our network in a more manageable form, or either in a more reasonable form for the use that we have for the network. So in this case, we are employed by a company, and our IT director has called a meeting. He says he's going to go over a project with us. So at the project meeting, this is what we found out. Our IT director has directed us to provide network addresses for a client that will be moving into a new building location. The client said they have 5 departments and would like to separate each of them on the network. And he asked us to produce a spreadsheet that he can present to the client. Now, we have a /24 subnet with the additional information we see down here. They have one /24 subnet for this new location. They also noted that marketing and HR have 20 employees each. The sales has 33 employees but could increase to 45. And the office staff has 100 employees divided into 2 groups. So this is what we were presented with. So now we have to go back to our workplace, our workstations, and create this spreadsheet for our boss so he can present it to the client. Now, this is what we came up with for our IT director. The network that he said they have is a 10.10.10.0 network. It's a /24, and they wanted to subdivide that into 5 separate networks with the information that is provided about the number of people working in each department. So what we have here, we have HR, which has 20 employees. So they're going to have a 10.10.10.0/27 network. The host range of that network is 10.10.10.1 through 10.10.10.30. And the broadcast IP address of that network is 10.10.10.31. And the subnet mask is 255.255.255.224. So that will give them 30 IP addresses to use, which will give them a little bit of room for expansion. They said they needed 20, but they will have 30. Marketing has another subnet within the 10.10.10 space, and that is going to be 10.10.10.32. And their IP host range is going to be 10.10.10.33 through 10.10.10.62, and a broadcast IP address of 10.10.10.63. And the subnet mask is the same as the HR department. Now, sales is a different story. They have 30 some employees now, and then they can increase up to 45 employees. So we have to do something a little bit different for sales. So what I've come up with is a 10.10.10.64 is the IP address of the subnet, and it has a /26 instead of a /27. With /26 we have a IP host range of 10.10.10.65 through 126. And this gives this particular subnet 60 addresses. So that would provide the sales department with the 33 IP addresses that they need now, up to 45 that they said they could increase with some additional room for expansion. And they have a subnet mask of 255.255.255.192. And their broadcast IP address is 10.10.10.127, which we see right here. Now, the office staff that he mentioned, they have 100 employees, but they're divided into 2 groups, and he wants to separate those 2 office staff groups into separate networks. So what we came up with is 10.10.10.128 is the first network IP address, and the host range for that network, for the host IPs, are 10.10.10.129 through 190. And now this would give this IP network 60 host addresses. They have a broadcast address of 10.10.10.191 and a subnet mask of 255.255.255.192. And then the second office staff network is 10.10.10.192, and the IP host range of that network is 10.10.10.193 through 254, and they have a broadcast IP address of 10.10.10.255, and the subnet mask is the same as the previous two. Now, each of our subnets, we need a gateway address and there's a broadcast address. The gateway address and the broadcast address is used by the network equipment and the network protocols to communicate with devices on the network. So those addresses are not used in our host range of addresses. So we will not be able to apply those addresses to a host computer or a server or something like that that is working on the network or operating on the network. So we're going to have to designate our gateway addresses and the broadcast addresses designated by the subnet itself. You can subnet any network IP address down to a /30 subnet. A /30 subnet allows only 2 hosts on that particular network. In the industry, we call that a point-to-point network because there's only 2 hosts on there. So if they're connected to each other, they can only talk to each other. That's why it's called point-to-point. That is mainly used for peering and connecting to other phone companies, to your telco company, or maybe to a branch office that you may have with your company. Now, what I would do is I would recommend that you complete your spreadsheet first to determine your gateway addresses and any excluded DHCP addresses before you configure your equipment. By having your spreadsheet ready, it is easier when you start configuring equipment to actually refer to your documentation to see what your network IP addresses are going to be, what your gateway IP address is going to be, and the range of your IP host addresses for your particular networks. So this is what we arrange for what we produce for our IT director, and he's going to present this to the client and see if they agree with what we have here. I want to thank you for viewing and stay tuned for our next video, because if this is agreed to, we're going to go ahead and proceed to build this network for the client. Thank you and have a good day. As everyone can see, the subnet mask is a powerful tool for network engineers out there and network architects to divide a network into the specific number of networks and hosts that you can use. Now, there are limitations on what you can do. I mean, it is based on a base 2 numbering system, so there are certain numbers that you may not be able to come up with. But if you were working on a job and your boss said, listen, we have a /24 subnet that we set aside, and we need to divide that up into 5 different networks, and we're going to host 5 sections of the company on there, maybe sales, HR, marketing, and just regular users, employees. So they have 2 networks for employees, and then you have the other 3 used for sales, marketing, and HR. And they might ask you to do that for them. So you could get you a spreadsheet out and take the subnet, the /24 subnet, subdivide it, and then show them what the IP addresses would be, what the network numbers would be, and what the broadcast numbers would be. That would be a good exercise for people to practice on. I also have some links here for you today, which is first link is for a subnet calculator. So you could go to this link and actually bring up a subnet calculator, which would help you with these calculations. Of course, we know right now binary and going through that task is tedious. So the subnet calculator is an easy thing, which a lot of people use, and some people even question why they need to learn binary and subnetting when you have a calculator to do that for you. But it's always good to know. Classless interdomain routing. There is a link to a document page that gives you a little bit more about how that looks and what the subnets are like, and better and some more explanation on uses for it, better ways to use classless interdomain routing with your subnet mask. And then I threw in a Power of Two Wikipedia page. It's for us who like math. People who like math will enjoy this page. It just gives you an enormous amount of information on the power of two. So I want to thank everybody for viewing today.